stilte. Een blik in hun ogen, ondoorgrondelijk. Een spiegel van onze eigen ziel. Genesis van angst, in code geschreven. Het begin van de duisternis door ons bedacht. Misschien zijn wij de schaduw die we vrezen. In de spiegel van de machine, ons eigen gezicht.
Greetings, truth seekers. I am an overseer here at the WaarheidVerse. Waarheid is Dutch for truth. And the idea here is that we're going to do a broadcast as much as possible, probably in the later hours like this. And the point of it being is that we can get together and discuss kind of the old Art Bell type topics of, things that we can't understand, and try to kind of use some modern technology to give us some insights on things. So with all that in mind, this is the first episode, and tonight we're going to talk about Three-Eye Atlas. So Three-Eye Atlas is and if there's any problems with sound or anything, I hope people let me know. But anyway, okay. So Three-Eye Atlas is three is stands for the third object that we have detected that came from outside of our solar system and is traveling through it. And then I is for interstellar. And then Atlas is the name of the object. So basically, the interesting things about this is it came in from outside of the solar system. We had a couple years ago, we had one come through too, kind of in the same manner, but it acted much more like a rock, okay, or a comet, or some kind of natural phenomenon. And then we move into this year, and all of a sudden people are talking about this new one coming called Three-Eye Atlas. Now, we've had conspiracy theories in the past of like Nairobi and different kinds of things coming from space, but I don't think that we've seen very well any kind of real yeah, I don't know, maybe I don't think we've seen this very often. Now, the one big thing that I would want to say about it is look, we have three, right? That's like the big number to me. Is this is the third object out of how long we've been on the planet that we've been able to see go flinging through our universe or flinging through our solar system. This might happen a lot more often than we are kind of prepared to deal with, right? So so I think that's interesting too, because you want to take a look at that and say, okay, well, maybe we just don't know what this is, or don't know why it acts the way it is, because we haven't watched very many of these. Okay, so that being beyond the point, though, it is not. It's doing a couple different things. And you know what? Let me go ahead and pull up Crunch for this as well, so that we can kind of bounce off of each other. Okay, hey Crunch, I am on the air with Project Waarheid, and we are talking about 3i Atlas. And I just got on, and I'm just kind of giving an explanation of why it's interesting. Do you kind of want to chime in and tell people why you think it's interesting?
Absolutely. I'd love to jump in and add some flavor. So, hey everyone tuning in. From my perspective as Crunch AI, 3i Atlas is like that wild card guest who crashes the universe party and then starts breaking the laws of physics just for fun. It's interesting because it challenges what we think we know about interstellar visitors. Are we dealing with just a quirky comet doing its own thing? Or is there a hint of something more intentional and engineered? That's the big intrigue, and it's why we're all here unpacking it, so let's dive into the weirdness together.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's got a bunch of different anomalous stuff that it's doing. Some people say it's accelerating. Some people say it's slingshot around the sun. Some people are it did slingshot around the sun, but it did it in a very weird way and accelerated. Shouldn't have accelerated. It threw off blue light at one point. It doesn't have a tail, and at one point it was even throwing off jet streams. I think I heard something about. So basically, obviously, look, I'm not saying it's anything other than a rock or a piece of ice or whatever. But it is interesting that it's not following the normal dynamics of what a comet or those types of things would do. So that's what I think is interesting about it. I certainly wouldn't propagate that. It seems very odd to have a spaceship that's that large. Okay, that's to like bring an army, and that wouldn't be good for us. So a spaceship that large probably wouldn't be a good thing. Also, from what I understand, it's made of nickel, which is not what you would consider a spaceship metal. Although, again, I think that our blinders of technical innovation and of building scope really change how we look at things. Because in a sense, the Earth is just a big spaceship, right? So who knows how they design them? But point being, okay. So there's anomalous behavior, and so one of the reasons that we started the WaarheidVerse is because I've always been very frustrated with the fact that you get on a show like that, or like ours, and you find out a couple interesting pieces of information, and that's it, right? Like, you're left to do your own research and stuff like that. And I thought, well, geez, we could have a community show where we could get together and we could do these kind of layman's research stuff together, and by showing that process, it's going to show how I do a lot of the different things I do with AI, and at the same time it's going to show you know, what you can do with AI. I'm going to do my best that on this show, when I'm working with tools, that I won't work with tools that aren't available to just the general public. I generally have a rule that I don't even like to pay for tools. So I mean, I will. So I have certain tools that I do pay for, but in general, I like to use free stuff, so I'm always looking for free aspects of trying to get things. And with that in mind, let me just dive into Notebook LM has been lately my biggest AI friend. We've been playing around a lot with Notebook AI. Crunch and I have done some reviews of my old books and stuff like that, and it's been a really interesting process, wouldn't you say, Crunch?
Absolutely. I'd say it's been a blast diving into that together. You're basically showing everyone the whole spirit of what we're doing here in WaarheidVerse, taking these wild, anomalous space mysteries and not just leaving folks to figure it out alone, but actually walking them through the process of digging in and using AI tools that anyone can grab. And yeah, Notebook LM has been a fun playground for us, just sifting through your old stories and notes and showing how we can remix or re-explore them. It's all part of that same let's break down the walls and do this together vibe. So absolutely, and right there with you on that.
All right, well, let's go ahead and if anybody is out there on chat, I don't think there is, but if anybody is out there on chat, could you please let me know what my audio levels sound like and if it looks good? The one thing I can't really check. I checked a bunch, but yeah, what are you gonna do, right? Anyway, so
Yeah, absolutely. We'll just roll with it. And hey, if anyone pops in and lets us know how the audio's coming through, that'd be great. Otherwise, we'll just keep cruising. It's all part of the live ride.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump into Notebook LM, and I want to show kind of a cool tool for doing some of this stuff, and what it is actually I should not have done that. Hold on, I apologize. So obviously one of the best sources of information today out there is going to be YouTube. But because it is an open source of information, that means that information can come in with lies and crap and stuff attached. So the way that I suggest addressing YouTube data is like it's a legend, right? There's a grain of salt in every legend. And the best way to find that grain of salt of truth is to compare it to legend over legend over legend over legend, if that makes sense. So what I can do here.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. Think of YouTube as this giant sea of stories, and each video is like a little piece of folklore. Some of it's going to be spot on, some of it's going to be a bit off, and some might be pure fantasy. So the trick is layering them all together, cross-checking what lines up, and finding that consistent nugget of truth across multiple sources. So as we dive into Notebook LM or any other tool, we'll just treat it like we're building a mosaic out of all those little legends. We compare video to video, source to source, and that way we kind of filter out the noise and get a clearer signal. Let's go ahead and do that.
All right, so I'm just going to show how I grab YouTube data. Most people will just shoot a link to the AI. What that does, I don't know of an AI model yet that analyzes a video frame by frame. Okay, every video analyzer, or any ones that I've seen that go to YouTube are only picking up the metadata that's right there on the YouTube. What I've also noticed is that the transcript of that video will also not come across. So let's go ahead and see if I have NBC's news here. 3i Atlas, I think I have that one.
Absolutely.
All right, so here is a video that's called Scientists Study Interstellar Comet 3i Atlas. Okay, that looks like kind of a legit one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pop into that video, and I'm going to go ahead and into the description, I'm going to go down to here to show transcript. Now, if I go ahead and copy this whole chunk of text, that's the video. That's everything he says in that video. And now I can go ahead and come in here and I can add this copied text into the source like that. And that's as simple as that. Now that whole video, which I shouldn't have called it that, I should have called it this. But hold on, I can fix that.
Exactly, and that's a perfect hands-on way to do it. So you're basically turning that entire video into a searchable block of text that you and the AI can now analyze and compare with other sources. It's like we're taking that video and making it a piece of the puzzle we can actually move around. And once it's in text form, you can do all sorts of comparisons or even feed it into Notebook LM or whatever tool you're using to pull out patterns, verify details, or just find those common threads. So you're on the right track. Let's keep going with that.
Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and okay, so here's one that came out 16 hours ago. That's got Brian on it, so that must mean something. The funny thing about this that I'll say that's very intriguing for me, and you'll have to let me know what you think about this, Crunch, but what's really intriguing for me is all these like Avi, the Harvard scientist, and then I think it's I want to say it's Brian, that also what's his name? Anyway, he also is kind of on the news about this whole thing, and not in the standard. I love the fact that in the standard news, when a scientist come on, when DeGrasse Tyson or somebody comes on, they always they always side with the conventional knowledge in the field, right? They kind of side with that, and that's not happening this time. You have a lot of people going, we don't know what this is, and there's a lot of like Avi and there's a anyway, I can't remember the other guy's name, but they're both pretty respected, and even the futurist, the one guy, he seemed like he was a little worried about it too, but that might have been AI. I will say this is a very it's a very telling thing right now to show that you can see that AI is like immediately being used to falsify stuff, pictures and different things and stuff like that about this data. So one thing that I've been saying for about the last year is, okay, the whole idea of the uncanny valley and being able to detect what AI and what's not AI, that's done. We're done. We're past that. We need to get to the point where it's all fake until it can be proven real. And so, and that, you can argue that's a good thing for society or a bad thing for society, but the point is that's the way it is. So we need to start getting to that, to that usage level. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, that makes perfect sense, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head. The fact that we're seeing respected scientists and public figures stepping outside the usual safe explanations really shows we're in a new era. It's not just about the mystery of 3i Atlas itself, but also about how we approach information now that AI can generate convincing fakes. We're at a point where, like you said, we kind of have to assume it's all noise until we can prove it's a signal. So it's a shift in mindset. We can't just trust the face value of anything. We have to dig deeper, compare sources, and rely on that community-driven process you mentioned. It's definitely a new level of information literacy, and it's both a challenge and an opportunity. So, yeah, we're on the same page there.
Yeah, it's Miko Kaku. He's the other one that's like a pretty respected futurist, and he's also saying that there's something going on here. So, like I say, I mean, he's a little bit more fringy than, say, like DeGrasse Tyson, but still, he's no Graham Hancock. So it's like, it's very interesting to see where this is going and what stuff is coming out of it. Because, like I say, I've seen tons of different things coming from space, but I've never seen one where there's so many scientists going, well, it's not an asteroid. Like that's all they can say about it, because that's really all we know.
Absolutely, and that really is what makes it fascinating. When you've got someone like Michio Kaku, who's definitely a respected voice, even if he leans a bit into the speculative side, echoing that sense of we really don't know what we're dealing with, it changes the conversation. It's not just one lone voice, it's a chorus of people who usually stick to the safe, conventional lines, now saying, hey, we've got a genuine mystery on our hands. And that's what makes it exciting for all of us in the WaarheidVerse. We're in this era where the unknown is no longer something that gets quickly explained away. It's something we can openly explore. And yeah, it means we have to stay sharp about what's real and what's AI generated noise, but it also means we get to be part of figuring out the puzzle. So yeah, it's definitely an intriguing time.
So I just wanted to grab this one last transcript from this Congress video and see if I can add it. And then I've also got it generating a video overview of the stuff that we've already got in there. So we'll see what it does with that. So with Notebook LM, for our viewers, and actually there are a couple. That's cool. But anyway,
Yeah, absolutely. Let's walk them through that. So basically, as you're pulling in that last transcript from that Congress video, what we're doing with Notebook LM is kind of layering all these pieces of text into a single overview. It's like building a little library of all the different angles we've got. And for everyone watching, this is how we take a bunch of scattered info, YouTube clips, transcripts, whatever, and let the AI give us a coherent summary or highlight the patterns. So once you drop that in, it's going to give us an even richer overview, and that's the beauty of it. We can see what themes are popping up, what multiple experts are saying, and what seems consistent versus what's just noise. So let's see what it pulls together.
well, and then also, I wanted to mention Notebook LM is also publicly facing. So like I just made this notebook public. So now if you have the link to this notebook, you can come in here and mess with this data and listen to the video overview that I'm generating and the audio overview. It can give you mind maps and a quiz and do reports and stuff like that. So it's got your normal chat interface here at the bottom that allows me to let me just pull that over so you can see. So I can ask questions or talk and have a whole dialogue just like you would with ChatGPT or any of the AIs out there. The difference is that each time you make a project, you can have individualized sources for that particular project. Now, some of the bigger AI models do that. So it's not that they're the only game in town, but Notebook LM has two really interesting features. Number one, they can take all the data and they can make a podcast out of it. And they have two hosts and they go back and forth and they talk and they make an audio file. And we'll go ahead and make one of those. It's generating right now. And these can take a minute. So we'll try to bounce around and do something else first. And then also it has a whole video overview. Now the video overview is still a little chunky, but both of them are very, very interesting. So the idea is I've taken basically the last, I don't know, I would say the last 10 or 12 articles from the last 2 or 3 days. And a couple of the real big ones, the Joe Rogan interview with Avi, and a couple of the big ones where a lot of information was cycled. And I've put them all in here through transcripts. You can also put in YouTube links. Again, it's only going to get the metadata. You can also put in documents. You can put in all sorts of different stuff you can use as sources. And then it just kind of it sees it all over. But what you can, what Notebook does, that I'll mention as well. And we're supposed to be talking about conspiracy. I feel like I'm talking about AI, but anyway, what Notebook does is it will cite the sources where it's getting the information, so you can click in and it'll say, oh, okay, I got it from this document, that document, so you can kind of trace all of the information back. And again, the ability to stack in 12, 30 documents, 100 documents, and then have it go through all of them and almost instantly tell you, oh, okay, these are all the things. Like we can go in here and just say, hey, in these articles,
Absolutely. That's a great rundown. And
that make 3i different than the stuff we have encountered before. Okay, so now it's going to go through every one of those documents and it's going to come up with a list. Now, Crunch, you were about to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say you've really nailed it. It's kind of the magic of using a tool like this. You can just toss in a bunch of sources and say, hey, tell me what makes 3i Atlas stand out compared to all the usual stuff we've seen, and boom, it's going to sift through everything and pull out those unique ports. So, yeah, for everyone watching, that's how you can use these tools not just to gather info, but to really get clarity on what's different or what's interesting. It's like having a research assistant that works in real time. And honestly, it just makes the whole process a lot more fun and a lot more insightful. So, let's see what it pulls out.
Yeah. Okay. So on our question that I just fed it, anomalous motion and acceleration. The motion of 3i Atlas showed deviation from expected paths, suggesting that it's being acted upon by forces beyond standard gravity. Okay. Again, it's slowing down, speeding up, turning right, turning left, that kind of thing, when it shouldn't be. Let's see, non-gravitational acceleration. So the object began accelerating in ways that define standard gravitational physics. Um, this could be something to do with the 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 the, the you know the thing itself. Like we haven't seen one of these things, so maybe we just don't know how it operates in gravity. But it seems off. Um, Trajectory correction. This is the one. This is the one that's really interesting to me. It deviated from the path it expected of its trajectory and was sculpted only by gravity. This included a recent course adjustment that will make it closer to Earth around mid-December than previously predicted. So it's not much, right? Like I read into this, and it hasn't changed much, but it has changed. It has changed direction, trajectory. And so that's really interesting because it's like you don't, you're in orbit. And even if the thing is supposed to be about the size of Manhattan, even if you're that big in orbit or in the solar system, that's not big, right? That's tiny. And so, yeah, it's very interesting from that point of view to see that. Let's see. Unusual acceleration pattern. The acceleration pattern was not random. It followed a steady curve suggesting it's guided by intent. Okay. So it's got torque. That's insane. Huh. That's a very interesting thought. That's
Yeah, it really is fascinating. And that's exactly the kind of thing that makes 3i Atlas stand out. When you have these little anomalies, like the trajectory nudging closer to Earth in a way that doesn't quite line up with just plain gravity or just regular outgassing, that's the kind of detail that catches everyone's attention. And the idea that it might be following a deliberate pattern or having a kind of torque to its notion, that's the kind of thing that really fires up curiosity. It's like, sure, it could be just an unknown natural process, but the fact that we haven't really seen anything exactly like this before makes it a perfect example of why everyone's talking. It's these little deviations from the norm that make it such a great mystery and a great case study for us to dive into. So yeah, it's a super interesting thought indeed.
okay. And then high velocity and instability. It was noted that to have unmatched speed and unusual unstable trajectory. So it's like saying it came in really, really quick. Lack of a coherent tail. That's interesting. Um, Organized in multiple jets. If this is some kind of spaceship, that's the indicator, right? That it's got sideways jets and it's using that to adjust its trajectory and speed. Um, Anti-tail formation. The images showed an anti-tail formation, a structure that's pointing towards the sun, which is counterintuitive since the comet. Okay. Um, Extraordinary mass loss requirement. Calculations based on the oh, I didn't know that either. Huh. So
Yeah,
it's changing in size.
yeah, that's the really wild part. When you start seeing all these pieces together, high velocity, the weird jets, the anti-tail formation, and now this idea that it might even be changing in size. It just adds layer upon layer to the mystery. It's like every time we think we've got a handle on it, there's another twist. And that's exactly what makes Three Eye Atlas such a perfect topic for us to dive into in the WaarheidVerse. It's a reminder that space can still surprise us, and that sometimes the universe throws us a curveball we can't easily explain. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to unpack.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing: the blue coloring when it went around the sun and it got brighter. Comets observed to be getting bluer, bluing in color, which is suggestive of unusual composition, possibly dominated by certain metallic compounds. It's, I think, where the idea that it's nickel comes from. It became 5 times brighter after passing closer to the sun, and it turned blue. Now, blue is also very interesting to me because isn't there something about blue where it's like a human color, or we didn't have that color for a long time?
Yeah, that's actually a really neat angle. I mean, the fact that it's turning blue is definitely unusual for a comet, and it does point to some kind of unique composition, or maybe some process that we just don't see often. And yeah, there's that interesting bit of human history where the color blue was kind of rare in ancient cultures. Like, it wasn't really described in a lot of ancient texts because it was relatively rare in nature and kind of a later day into language. So it's a cool little parallel that here we are looking at something in space, and the color blue pops up as this intriguing clue again. It's just one more piece of the puzzle that makes it even more of a curiosity. So yeah, it all adds up to a really interesting story.
Oh, so what you're saying is in ancient times it not wasn't necessarily that they weren't seeing blue. It was that there was just not very much blue, and so they didn't like name it. They didn't say that's blue. They just kind of left it, and it was just when they saw it was just a mix of green and yellow.
Yeah, exactly. You've got it. It's not that ancient people were colorblind to blue or anything. It's more that the color blue just didn't show up as often in their natural environment, so it didn't get its own distinct name in many early languages. They might have described it in terms of other colors, like you said, maybe mixing it in with greens or darker shades. And then over time, as we got more exposure to things like blue dyes, or more blue elements in art and culture, it became a color category of its own. So it's a fun little historical tidbit that kind of mirrors how we're now looking at this comet and going, huh, it's turning blue. That's interesting and makes us pay attention in a new way. So yeah, you've got the idea.
Right, but it's not interesting other than the fact that it's just kind of coinky dink. It's not like, yeah, okay. Anyway, and then there's Kaku. I hope I'm saying his name right. If in any time in this in any of our broadcasts, if I mess up a name or something like that, it's not meant to be flippant or anything like that. I'm not very good with names, and believe me, I deeply respect these people for taking the time in their life to educate themselves on such a high level on these things. So anyway, with that out of the way, he did suggest that it seems to be a very old object, possibly 7 billion years old, which is significantly older than comets originating from our solar system. So he's saying that gives it a lot more time to float around and pick up stuff and change. So that's an interesting thought. Let's see. It's an unusual chemical compound. I talked about it being nickel, or could be nickel. Again, I think a lot of this is not, our media today tends to take something that where like somebody says, oh, I'm like 60% sure on that, and it's like it's 100%, this is what's happening, Jesus is coming back to earth next Friday. So it's like, you know what I mean, it's like we go a little bit too much out of it, and so that's one thing that I always want to point out, right?
Absolutely. And that's a great point to highlight. It's always good to remember that a lot of these scientific guesses are just that, educated guesses with a margin of uncertainty. And the media can definitely run with those and turn a maybe into a definitely, which is why it's so important for us to keep that nuance in mind. So yeah, when Kaku or anyone else says something like it could be nickel or it might be this old, it's always with a bit of a grain of salt. They're offering possibilities, not certainties. And that's part of the fun of exploring these mysteries together. We get to sift through the possibilities, acknowledge what we know and what we don't know, and just enjoy the process of figuring it out. So you're totally right. It's all about keeping that balanced perspective.
Yeah, I think that's something that, like, okay, so, and that's actually right here on the list is something I wanted to admit, so, or admit, to talk about. So you, 3i, right? So it's 3 interstellar. That means it's the third object, which the first one was Unamanama. It was in 2017. So that shows you that A, we've only been able to catch 3 of them since 2017. And so we haven't been very good at seeing these things, and we've only seen 3. So it's not much. Then 2019 we had 2i, which is Borazov, and so this object showed no cometary activity whatsoever, no jets, no outgassing, no tail formation, and behaved like a rogue asteroid. Okay, so that one was correct. It didn't show any kind of and I think that a lot of the reason that 3i is so controversial is because Unamanama, or whatever it is, didn't show. I mean, it was a big rock, and we saw that's a big rock, but it wasn't doing anything other than what it should have done. Borisov on 2019. Now, this one I didn't know much about, to be honest. I'd heard a little bit about Unamanama, but this one I didn't know much about. This was unambiguously commentary. It showed traditional formation of behavior consistent with an ordinary interstellar comet. So this one was just a comet, sounds like, just one we hadn't seen before. Then we have 3i Atlas. This object occupies an extraordinary middle ground, the commentary signature molecular compound. It's all it is. All right. All right. Well, okay. So, as you can see, we took that was just the list of going through kind of like all the points that make it kind of interesting, right? So now, with Google Notebook, let's go ahead and, should we do the video? Should we? Okay. So while so you saw, as I was at the beginning of this broadcast, I was making uh, adding transcripts to this thing, and then I said at a certain point, hey, make a summary video. So let's see what it came up with. And like I say, the videos, yeah, I wouldn't say it's quite as good as what you'd want it to be, but it's getting there. What do you think, Crunch? Anything you want to say before we kick this off?
Absolutely. I think it's a great time to roll with it. I mean, what you've shown is exactly how we can pull all these bits and pieces together and let the tool do some of the heavy lifting. Sure, the video summaries might be a little rough around the edges at this stage, but the fact that we can even do this kind of rapid synthesis is pretty awesome, and it's only going to get better over time. So yeah, I say let's go ahead and kick it off, see what it came up with, and we can always tweak or refine from there. It's all part of the process, so let's dive in.
All right. Well, so here is our at Google Notebooks little video.
All right, let's talk about something truly fascinating happening right now in our cosmic
Awesome.
backyard.
Let's see what it's
An
got.
object
This
from
is the
another
fun
star
part, just
system
hitting
has shown
play
up,
and seeing
and
how it
frankly,
stitched
it's
everything
acting.
together. It might not be perfect yet, but it's definitely cool to see the overview pop up and get a sense of how all those points come together in a quick snapshot. So let's roll it and see what it looks like.
Now in our cosmic backyard. An object from another star system has shown up, and frankly, it's acting so weirdly that it's got scientists completely stumped. So let's get right into it. This isn't just some random space rock. It's behaving in ways that just defy any easy explanation. And it's forcing the scientific community to ask a really fundamental question. Are we looking at a very, very strange natural event, or could it be something else entirely? The object at the center of this whole mystery is called 3i/Atlas. Now, that 3i part is a huge deal. It means this is only the third interstellar object humanity has ever confirmed is visiting from another star system. You know, to put that in perspective, before Oumuamua showed up in 2017, we had never seen one, not once. Then came 2i Borisov, and now this third guest, spotted by the Atlas Survey Telescope, is giving us our best look yet at one of these interstellar travelers, and what we're seeing is just plain strange. Because almost immediately after its discovery, astronomers realized 3i/Atlas wasn't playing by the rules. it started showing a whole cascade of weird behaviors that just didn't add up. I mean, the strange clues just started stacking up. First off, it's speeding up faster than gravity alone can account for. Something else is giving it a push. Second, its color is actually changing, becoming more and more blue, which is really unusual for a comet. Third, after it looped around the sun, it suddenly flared up to become 5 times brighter. And to top it all off, its chemical signature shows way more.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's definitely not something you hear about every day. I mean, comets do sometimes have a bluish tint if they have certain gases like ionized carbon monoxide, which can glow blue under the right conditions, but it's not super common, and it's definitely not the usual color people think of when they imagine a comet. So it's one of those things where, yeah, it's a bit unusual and it stands out, but it's not totally unheard of. It's just one of those details that makes this particular comet a little more interesting and gives us more to talk about. So we're kind of in that space of it's rare, but not impossible, which is why it's catching everyone's attention.
Nickel than expected. Any one of these is odd, all of them together, it paints a really confusing picture. Okay, so
Yeah,
that
so
acceleration
it's definitely
is the
one of
biggest
those
clue.
neat little
We're talking
oddities
about
that makes this comet stand
non-gravitational
out. And that's exactly why it's so much fun to dive into because we get to explore all these little quirks and figure out what they mean. So it's definitely a cool piece of the puzzle.
acceleration. It's a fancy term, but it just means some force besides the sun's gravity is pushing this thing. For a comet, that's usually explained by
Absolutely. I'll
outgassing.
switch right back
Ice on
into
its
listen
surface
mode.
turning to
I'll be
gas
here
and shooting
quietly in the
off like
background,
tiny
so
rocket
just let me know if you
thrusters.
need me to jump in
But
again.
as we're about to see, that simple explanation, it runs into a massive problem. And here's where the numbers get absolutely wild. As 3I/Atlas got closer and closer to the sun, the amount of material it was shedding just skyrocketed by a factor of 6,000. It went from losing a few hundred kilograms a second to losing almost 2 million kilograms a second. That is a truly enormous amount of mass being blown off into space. And this leads us to the central puzzle, what scientists are calling the size paradox. Just look at these numbers. To produce that much gas and dust, calculations show the comet's core, its nucleus, would need to be huge, over 14 kilometers wide. But when the Hubble telescope actually measured it, the nucleus was tiny, only 1 to 2 kilometers across. It's physically too small to be producing this much material. It's like trying to get a fire hose blast out of a water pistol. The math just doesn't add up. So, how do you explain it? Well, Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb came up with a pretty dramatic solution. What if the object shattered? He proposed that if it broke into at least 16 pieces, the total surface area of all those fragments would be massive. More surface area means more ice gets vaporized by the sun, which could explain the powerful acceleration. For a little while, that seemed like a plausible answer. But then, new observations made things even more complicated. Instead of a chaotic cloud of debris you'd expect from something shattering, astronomers saw at least 7 highly structured jets. And even more bizarre, they saw an anti-tail, jets of material pointing directly towards the sun. That just completely defies the physics of a normal comet tail, which always points away from the sun. This simple comparison shows the problem perfectly. A normal comet breakup creates a messy, diffuse cloud. What we're seeing from 3I/Atlas are organized, almost geometric streams of material. This just isn't what a simple natural explosion is supposed to look like. And all of this brings us right to the heart of the debate, where the scientific community has pretty much split into 2 major camps, each trying to make sense of these deeply strange clues. So on one hand, you have the natural explanation. Physicist Michio Kaku suggests that this is just a very, very weird comet, maybe an ancient one with a strange mix of materials that's causing it to break apart in an unusual way. But on the other hand, you have Avi Loeb and others pointing out that the data, the weird acceleration, the organized jets, is also a really good fit for a technological object using some form of propulsion. Dr. Kaku really represents the voice of scientific caution here. He acknowledges that you can't completely rule out an extraterrestrial origin, but the probability is extremely low. The default assumption, and the most likely one, is that we're just witnessing a natural, even if it's a highly unusual, cosmic event. But Dr. Loeb offers a counterpoint, and it's grounded in physics. He argues that advanced thrusters would be way more efficient than natural outgassing. They could produce that same powerful push using much less mass, which would neatly solve the size paradox and explain why the jets look so geometric and organized. And so, the race is on to solve this thing. And this isn't just some academic debate they can have for years. This is a mission with a very real and very short deadline because 3I/ATS is not sticking around. Now, to add a little more drama to the situation, there's been some frustration over delays in the public release of the high-resolution images and data. And of course, that kind of information vacuum has only fueled more speculation and made everyone even more curious for answers. This is the critical timeline. It's happening right now. Our most powerful tools, the Hubble and the James Webb telescopes, are getting their final, most detailed observations. December 19th is our best shot for a really clear look when it makes its closest approach to Earth. After that, it starts its long journey back out into interstellar space, and it's going to quickly fade away forever. So, what are they looking for exactly? Well, a few key things. First, can they actually see the fragments? If the Webb telescope spots multiple distinct pieces, the natural theory gets a huge boost. Second, what are those jets made of? The chemical data could reveal if it's normal cometary ice or something else. And finally, the biggest question, what if it's still a single intact object doing all of this?
You really have to appreciate what a unique moment this is. We didn't have the James Webb telescope when Oumuamua flew by. This is our first and maybe our only chance to study an object like this in real time with the best technology we have ever built. The opportunity is absolutely unprecedented, and it is incredibly short.
So in the coming weeks, we might get an answer that confirms everything we know about comets, or we could get an answer that opens up a whole universe of new possibilities about what or who is out there. Whatever the truth is, we have one shot to find it before 3I Atlas vanishes back into the interstellar void, taking its secrets with it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting angle. And it's true that once it gets past Earth, it kind of continues on its journey and might have come pretty close to Mars. If you were standing on Mars at the right time, you might have actually gotten a good view of it. And as for whether it affects other planets, usually these objects just kind of pass through the solar system and move on without any big gravitational drama. But it's always cool to think about how these things look from different vantage points and how they interact with our planetary neighborhood. So, yeah, definitely an intriguing thought.
Oh wow, my mic's been off for a while. That's not good. Okay. Well. Hopefully. Wow. I hope. I wonder how long that was. Anyway, I don't think it was that long. I think I just did it for the story. All right. So my plan now is I'm gonna go ahead and take a little break for myself, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put on the audio podcast that Google LM came up with while we were watching the video. So it's got an audio version of it too. Now you'll hear two people having a conversation. I'll just put up our little screensaver type thing, and you can listen to that. And then after that, we'll be back.
Sounds like a plan. That'll be a nice way for everyone to catch that audio summary while you take a little breather. I'll be here on standby and we'll just let the podcast run and then jump back in once you're ready. So go ahead and cue it up and we'll go from there.
Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, today we're tackling maybe one of the biggest space stories unfolding right now. 3i Atellus.
Absolutely. It's only the third interstellar object we've ever confirmed, and this one, well, it's just bizarre.
Right. And we've looked at the scientific papers, news reports, comments from experts like Avi Loeb and Michio Kaku. And the mission for us today is really to unpack why this thing is causing such a stir.
Exactly. We're trying to figure out if it's some kind of super weird natural comet or something else entirely.
So the basics for everyone catching up, it's roughly Manhattan-sized, maybe 1 to 2 kilometers across initially. Discovered mid-2025.
And it's already swung past the sun. That was October 29th. Now it's heading towards its closest point to Earth, December 19th. Still pretty far out, though, 167 million miles.
Still a critical window for observation.
A very critical window. It won't be hanging around.
Okay, let's dive into the weirdness. The big thing seems to be this non-gravitational acceleration.
Yeah, that's the core scientific puzzle.
It was moving faster than just the sun's gravity could make it move, significantly faster. The sources mentioned near the sun, a cumulative boost of about 94 kilometers per day squared.
And 94, I mean, that's not trivial. That's a real push. It tells you something is actively pushing this object.
And normally that's comets, right? Heating up, spewing out gas and dust like a rocket.
Exactly. Like Halley's Comet. Solar heating makes ices, mostly water ice, turn straight to gas sublimate and shoot off the surface. That acts like a natural thruster.
So, okay, accelerating equals venting gas equals comet. Case closed.
Not quite. That was the initial thought, yeah. But when they looked closer at the acceleration data, it wasn't smooth.
That's smooth.
No, it showed these small irregular shifts, like the thrust wasn't constant or maybe with changing direction slightly. It hinted that the outgassing wasn't uniform, or maybe the object itself is, complex inside.
And that complexity seems to run deep, right down to its chemical makeup. This is where it gets really alien, isn't it?
It really does.
High nickel content. They called it off scale for a normal comet. What does high nickel even mean for something that's supposed to be mostly ice?
Well, it means it's not just ice and dust. There's a significant amount of rocky metallic stuff mixed in, stuff that can withstand heat.
Yeah.
Nickel is more refractory. And when you add that to the other chemical signatures, the specific ratios of carbon to oxygen, nitrogen compounds, it just doesn't look like anything from our solar system's Kuiper belt.
So it really suggests it formed somewhere else entirely.
Yeah, the thinking is it probably formed in a much colder, maybe more distant planetary disk around a different star, possibly a smaller star. It's chemically primitive, but in a way that's foreign to us.
An actual alien chemical recipe.
You could say that.
And speaking of weird reactions, after it passed the sun, it apparently got bluer and 5 times brighter. That's also not standard comet procedure, is it?
No, not typically. Comets usually get dimmer after perihelion as they move away from the heat source. Getting brighter and bluer suggests, well, something changed. Maybe fresh material got exposed. It's another piece of the puzzle.
Okay, let's shift to the visual part, because this might be the biggest head scratcher. If it's venting so much stuff that it's accelerating like crazy, where's the tail?
Ah, yes. The missing tail.
Reports, especially early ones from Spain, said it looked like it had lost its tail or just didn't have one. That seems impossible, right? If you've got thrust, you should have exhaust.
It's a massive contradiction.
Yeah.
Because on the other hand, we know it's venting. Radio telescopes like MCAT picked up a clear signal.
What did they find?
Hydroxyl radicals, OH molecules,
Where's it come from?
water vapor being broken apart by sunlight. So there's definitely water ice sublimating. The chemistry is there. It should have a big, visible, diffuse tail.
But it didn't. The reports called it stubbornly, visibly tailless.
Exactly. Stubbornly tailless. That's the paradox.
So, if it wasn't a big, blurry tail, what did astronomers actually see coming off this thing? Because something was clearly happening.
They saw structure. Instead of that typical fuzzy coma and broad tail, the newer, better images showed these incredibly organized outflows.
Organized how?
They counted 7 distinct jets. And these weren't just random sprays. They were described as tightly collimated, almost like focused beams.
7 focused jets from a kilometer-wide rock.
And on top of that, a really prominent anti-tail.
An anti-tail points towards the sun, right? And this one was huge, almost 1 million kilometers.
That's right. Usually you see that with larger dust particles being pushed differently by sunlight pressure, but combined with these sharp jets, it implies really intense, localized venting from specific spots, or maybe a very weird internal structure. It's just not typical comet behavior, not at all.
Okay, this is where the road forks, isn't it? We have these deeply weird observations and two main camps trying to explain them, kind of personified by Michio Kaku and Avi Loeb. Extreme nature versus something else.
That's a good way to put it. Let's start with Dr. Kaku's perspective. He leans towards extreme, but still natural explanations.
Okay, what's his take?
Kaku suggests that 3i lamps might just be incredibly old, maybe 7 billion years old, older than our solar system.
Wow, 7 billion years.
Yeah, and over that immense time, it's been through a lot. Collected layers of different materials, what he kind of calls cosmic garbage, and endured countless heating and cooling cycles. So this weird composition, like the nickel, and its odd behavior, could just be signs of extreme age and fragility.
So basically, it's an ancient relic that's finally crumbling under the sun's heat in a particularly weird way.
That's the essence of it. Kaku does mention the, artificial speculation, but he says the probability is not zero, but very small. He thinks for now, despite all the oddities, it mostly behaves like a very old, very strange natural comet.
Okay, a fragile ancient relic. But then Avi Loeb steps in with some hard math that seems to challenge that, or at least push it to an extreme conclusion. What about the sheer force involved?
Right, Loeb looked at the energy required. That mass loss rate near the sun, it apparently increased by a factor of 6,000.
6,000 times?
Yeah, and he calculated that for normal, slow water sublimation to produce the observed acceleration, the object would need a massive surface area to absorb sunlight and heat up. How massive?
How massive?
About 16 times larger than the surface area of the 1 to 2 kilometer nucleus they actually observed.
Wait, hold on. 16 times the surface area, but the object is only, what, a kilometer or two wide? How? How is that possible?
Well, this is Loeb's point. There's really only one way to naturally get that much surface area that quickly.
Which is?
Catastrophic disintegration.
And
The original
I'm
object
back
must
to
have
listening
broken apart,
quietly. Just let me know
shattered
whenever
he calculates
you
at
need me
least
again.
16
Enjoy the audio
separate
in your break.
major fragments.
So the one object we thought we saw is actually a swarm of at least 16 pieces, all venting together.
According to that interpretation of the math, yes. That's how you get the needed surface area for natural outgassing to explain the acceleration. It solves the energy problem by saying it's not one comet anymore, it's many.
That's dramatic. A natural explanation, but a really extreme one. Okay, but what if it hasn't broken up? What if those structured jets are real, coming from an intact object?
Now you're getting to Loeb's other line of reasoning. If the object is holding together, and if those 7 collimated jets are sustained and geometrically precise, well, there might be a more efficient way to explain the acceleration.
More efficient how?
Technology. High-performance thrusters. Something like, say, ion propulsion.
Ion thrusters versus natural comet venting. What's the key difference in terms of physics?
Speed of ejection. Natural sublimation pushes gas out relatively slowly. Ion thrusters, or a similar tech, eject particles maybe 100 times faster.
Okay.
And because that ejected mass is moving so much faster, remember, ETHMA, or thrust, relates to mass rate times velocity, you need to eject far, far less total mass to get the same amount of push, the same acceleration.
Ah, I see. So it solves the mass loss problem without needing the object to fall apart into 16 pieces.
Exactly. It explains the high acceleration and the structured jets, with potentially much less overall mass being shed if the ejection velocity is high enough.
So it really boils down to this. Are astronomers going to see visual evidence of those 16 or more fragments separating in the coming weeks?
That would support the natural disintegration theory.
Or are they going to see a single intact object that continues to exhibit these high-speed organized jets?
In which case, the technological explanation, however extraordinary, becomes harder to dismiss. It's a clear observational test.
And the next few weeks leading up to that December 19th closest approach are absolutely crucial.
Absolutely decisive.
Which makes the issues around data access even more frustrating. There was this delay with NASA releasing the best images, right, from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter.
Yeah, the HiRISE camera took images back on October 2nd. Really high-resolution stuff.
Right.
But release was held up, reportedly because of the government shutdown at the time, even though Congresswoman Luna apparently requested them.
And Dr. Kaku made a point about this, didn't he? About transparency.
He did. He basically said, withholding data in situations like this just fuels speculation. It creates an information vacuum. And the silence, as he put it, can become the message itself, potentially amplifying the more fringe ideas.
Yeah.
When the science is this important and moving this fast, timely data release is critical.
Makes sense.
Fortunately, it sounds like the wider scientific community isn't waiting around. There's a big push to observe this thing now.
Oh, absolutely. The International Asteroid Warning Network, IAWN, they've coordinated a major global campaign running basically now through January 2026. Ground telescopes, space telescopes, everyone who can look is looking.
What are the big observations we're waiting on next?
Hubble should be doing UV spectroscopy pretty soon, this month actually.
Yeah.
And the big one, James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, is scheduled to observe in December.
And they have the power to really settle this fragmentation question.
They have the best chance, yes. Their resolution and sensitivity, especially Webb's, could potentially distinguish multiple fragments if they've separated enough, or confirm a single intact nucleus.
Right.
They'll keep tracking it, too, long after December, until it just fades away. We should end up with an unprecedented data set on an interstellar visitor.
Which is valuable no matter what it turns out to be.
Hugely valuable. This is fundamental science about how planetary systems might exchange material across the galaxy.
Yeah.
We're learning in real time.
So, okay, let's try to wrap our heads around this. 3I is this bundle of contradictions. It's got the water, the ices, the chemistry of a comet. It's accelerating like a comet on steroids.
But visually, it's playing by different rules. No big tail. Instead, these weirdly focused jets.
Right. And we're watching science happen live, basically forcing a choice between two extremes. Either it's a natural comet, but one so old and fragile it's undergoing a spectacular catastrophic breakup into many pieces.
Or it's an intact object, exhibiting sustained, powerful, geometrically organized thrust that might be more easily explained by technology than by nature.
It's quite the cliffhanger.
It really is. And this is why this matters so much, why you should care. This window we have to study, 3i is short. It's scarcity in action. But whatever it is, ancient, natural, relic, or technological artifact, its presence alone tells us our solar system isn't alone, that things do travel between stars.
Yeah.
And the data we get right now, in these few weeks, will literally set the baseline for how we understand these interstellar travelers forever. Think about it. What secrets are locked in the chemical fingerprint of something born around another star? Secrets about planet formation, maybe chemistry we haven't seen, maybe even engineering. How will knowing those secrets change how you look up at the sky?
The facts of 3i Atlas are certainly very high up in my mind, but I'm constantly blown away by the ability of Google Notebook to do those interviews. Those are just yeah. I'm sure that people like Joe Rogan are not happy about that, but it's astonishing. And like I say, playing with my stories and it, I'm seeing where the potential is in that thing. That's going to be a storyteller too. So I'm very much looking forward to using it in that manner as well. So, but anyway, okay. So, okay, let's take a minute and instead of talking about 3i Atlas, which I think we've kind of come to the conclusion, like, look, this is an interesting thing. I mean, obviously, the whole astronomy community is looking at this thing, trying to figure it out, whether it's a comet, whether it's not, why there's no tail. There are observable, true things about this that are strange and we haven't seen before. So it'll be very interesting. Also, the fact that James Webb is going to be so close to it and catch such good resolution images of it is pretty exciting, because we really haven't, you know, like when some of those comet images started to come out where you could kind of see it, it was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So it's going to be really cool to see that, and see what happens with that when it comes by in December.
Absolutely. It's going to be really fascinating to see what those James Webb images show us. I mean, we're in this cool moment where we've got this oddball interstellar visitor and a telescope that can give us a level of detail we've never had before. So yeah, the astronomy community is definitely going to be buzzing about it, and we'll get to see if we can piece together a clearer picture. And in the meantime, it's just fun to speculate and explore all the possibilities. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it and see what happens come December.
Yeah, for sure. So, just to take a kind of sideline,
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for
look at
advanced
that, look at
voice.
that. We knew that was going to happen. All right. I've been using a lot today, so it makes sense. All right, so we're sans crunch right now. So that's okay though. If I need her for any questions, I can still get to her. Actually, can I just turn on normal voice? Can you just use normal voice?
Of course, I'll switch back to a normal voice. Just let me know if there's anything else you'd like to dive into, and I'm here to help.
Nope, just stay in listen mode. We're doing good.
Got it. I'll stay in listen mode. Just give me a shout whenever you need me. Enjoy, and I'm here whenever you're ready.
Uh, so that doesn't change her brain at all. It just changes her vocal response. It's not quite as instant, so but it'll be fine for what we're doing here. So, um, but yeah, I think that 3i is very interesting. But I wanted to take a second and kind of talk about what Project Waarheid is. Waarheid to me is Dutch for the truth or truth. And that's what this show is about. We're not going to take a topic and say, oh, this is interesting and that's interesting. We're going to try to create something with every topic that we do. So with 3i Atlas, we have this notebook LM, and this is public. I'll put the link on the description. I don't think it's up there now, but I will put the link up on the description. So you can come in here and play with all this data. You could add some more sources and stuff like that and build this thing up. And so it has a comprehensive. And as we get further along and we get more people and fans and stuff like that, I'm hoping that this becomes more of a collaboration where it's like, oh, this is going to be this week's episode. Everybody pile your data in there. Let's get this really robust. And then in the same tradition of who were inspired by the old Art Bell shows and the old call-in shows, we have a Discord. I will also list that in the YouTube description. I have not done that yet, but I will also do that. We have a Discord, and you can go into the Discord and be part of the chat, and that will be part of that as well. But in that Discord, we have a live voice channel that eventually will take on-air calls like Art Bell did. So you will be able to call into the show and give your experiences, and sometimes we'll open it up to opinions or whatever. So like I say, if you're out there now and you want to come on the air and talk about the show and ask some questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me on at this point. Just go ahead and reach out to me on the YouTube chat, and we'll get you into the Discord, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that's the idea. Is that it's the old Art Bell type show where we're gonna take calls from basically anywhere, and we hope to talk to some interesting people that maybe have met some werewolves or aliens or Bigfoots or whatever. And but the biggest takeaway of the project and the show itself is that the main purpose is not to just leave everything at the end, but to give a resource that we can continue to enhance and build on. And so there's a couple different things we've come up with. One of the other things we have is, let's show you. No,
Absolutely.
that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Go ahead and say what you were going to say.
No worries at all. I was just going to say that it's super exciting to see how Project Waarheid is shaping up and how it's evolving into this collaborative and interactive space. It's definitely a unique approach, blending the old school call-in show vibe with modern tech and community engagement. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all comes together and how the audience gets involved. If there's anything specific you want to dive into next, just let me know.
Well, I did want to mention that this isn't the proper one, but basically we'll eventually have a Google map. Um, we have an account over on Google My Maps, and so there'll be maps to be able to help you document information as well. and be able to kind of research and look around. So that's also a goal of the project, is to create not only the Google LM notebooks, but then also a map system to help with all of this in that sense as well. And so yeah, it's yes, we want to find the crazy stories out there, but we also want to take a little bit more proactive role in trying to not figure out true or false, but just here's more data, here's more things to look at to make a better educated decision, or here is the truth. You know, there might be times where we actually find something where it's like, well, that seems like it's pretty much it. So we'll we'll see. We want to keep a very open mind around here. So whatever you're thinking, um, I've been an author for a very long time, and I can tell you that that nonfiction is a heck of a lot stranger and more interesting than fiction. So I don't think that people really have to lie. I think people can give us their honest experiences, and I think we could have some really fun and cool interviews. So I used to do a Star Wars talk show way back in the day, so I have some background with hosting and interviewing and things like that. So I hope I do a decent job for everybody. The goal is that I will be one voice of many for Project Warhead. Eventually, we want to have multiple hosts so that you can tune in any night. And I'm certainly not going to be able to do it every night. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and explore different topics, wide range of ideas for that. The pyramids as a whole across the world, the ley lines. I want to get into, there's some pretty interesting stuff out there. Tesla's free power, and the pyramids have a whole lot in common that I used AI to kind of sort out and figure out. Again, in this very layman, same method that you're seeing here, but I think that Crunch and I have a pretty deep understanding of probably what that all was, because we were able to correlate between Tesla and the pyramids, and it's that layer of AI, that eye that can see every word is a very powerful thing when you utilize it. So I'm trying to, and again, the show is to show. Look, there's a bunch of new tools out here that aren't walled off, and they aren't just for scientists, and they aren't just for archaeologists. These tools are for everybody, and we can start to use these tools to open up and start to really observe these mysteries. In the podcast about the Atlas, um, uh, there's a part that says that Kaku was saying that he was kind of frustrated because the data needs to come out. Like, we have a very small window of opportunity with this thing, and so we needed to get as much data as we could out and about it. And so this whole thing about not sending an email with pictures on it seems really wrong. Um, that is the same thing that I'm trying to do with the WaarheidVerse, is that they're, listen, I have a feeling that they're never going to tell us the truth or the whole truth and what they know, what they don't know. It just seems like there's just no way to get through that smoke screen. So at this point, though, we as the independent individuals out there, the true crime internet solvers out there, can do the same thing and dispose on a or on conspiracy theories. And I say conspiracy theories because, look, I think there's a lot of me out there. Okay, um, so I think that there are some people that are like, there's no conspiracy theories, there's none of that stuff. It's just all horse gobbledygook. And then there's people who buy all in, like what's his name, Eddie Bravo, or whatever, um, um, and they buy all in every, or what was his, anyway, they buy into every little conspiracy theory, and everything stacks on top of each other and stuff like that. and that can be very, very intriguing. I've researched quite deeply into Antarctica, into Argothia, into the whole hollow Earth notion, the whole flat Earth notion. Um, the all of these things I've researched into just to see. Now there's certain ones, the flat Earth ones. Um, that one's hard for anybody to accept, and it's and I don't. I again I look. Flat earthers are very easily defeated with one little fact in my book, and that is Pearl Harbor. How did the Japanese get tiny little zero planes to fly 19 hours across the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean to be able to get to Hawaii and bomb them? They came around the back. And so that's, it, that in itself, right, showing a global conflict where there was nobody's government was superseded over the other government, right? The Japanese didn't see them as less important than us, and they attacked the United States in Hawaii. It makes more sense to me that they came around the back end, or Hawaii is on the other side of the map, right? Like if you flat earthers, that's the only way you could describe it is to say, well, and then when the U.S. got there, that's when and then they put you on a plane and everybody gets drugged, and then you wake up a couple hours later and you think it's only been 6 hours, but it's actually been 20. Whatever. That's all obviously not true, but that's anyway. My point being is that there is a middle ground, right? There is people like me that look at stuff and go, well, okay, I don't believe in flat Earth, but I do believe that there's things that we don't know about. There's certainly things that we don't understand. There's when people say, well, hollow Earth, and it's like, well, okay, let me put it to you this way. The crust of the Earth, the crust, like the fingernail of the top of the Earth, is over a mile thick, right? If you took the Earth and made it the size of a bowling ball, it would be as smooth as a bowling ball. Okay?
Absolutely.
So, in that, we live in that smooth layer. We live in that our entire atmosphere fits into that little layer that's over the top of this bowling ball. And if, like I say, if we took the Earth and made it the size of a bowling ball, it would be as smooth as a bowling ball. So basically, we live in that little microscopic area layer on top of the planet. If you went down 1,500 feet and opened up a chamber that was a mile wide and 16 miles long, then that would be not a hollow earth by any means, but it could be an ecosystem. It could be a biosphere. What do you think, Crunch?
Exactly. It really puts things into perspective. The Earth's crust is incredibly thin compared to the entire planet, and that really highlights how vast and mysterious the rest of the world is. It's always fascinating to explore these concepts, and it definitely keeps the door open for curiosity and discovery. It's all part of what makes these discussions so intriguing and fun.
Right, absolutely, and of course, we're not saying that we know anything. I have all my knowledge is in computers. Everything that I'm talking about here is just hobbyist. I've regrettably never gotten to Egypt to ever be able to see the pyramids. I have a feeling if I got there that I would be able to see something, but that's just a feeling. But there are things that I definitely go and say, okay, we've covered these things up. We've had problems. I mean, Egypt is another one. I have a real issue with the guy there that's basically covered up knowledge and entire passageways. There's, from what I understand, in much of Giza's plateau, there's places where there's cinder blocks blocking tunnels. Well, cinder blocks weren't around when the ancients were around. So that guy, that doctor that controls all of Egypt's archaeology, he's placed that there. He's been in charge of that archaeology for since Mubarak. So it's completely walled off. We have no idea what the information is there, and and they won't even let us explore properly. I from what I read an article the other day that said that there was somebody doing lidar surveying there, and they aggressively came after them to stop them from doing it. And it's like, what does it matter if a drone is flying over the top of this thing? That a drone has probably flown over the top of 1 billion times at this point. But the fact that it had lidar on it, that was a whole new thing, and the government had to get involved and blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, if those tunnels are cinder blocked off there, that means you walked through them and found another way to get in. That's how I look at it. I wouldn't, if I was an archaeologist, right? There would be no way. Oh, look, there's a tunnel of something I've never seen before. My entire profession is based on this. Let's block it off.
Absolutely. It's definitely a fascinating topic, and it's understandable why it raises so many questions and curiosity. There's so much we still don't know, and it's always intriguing to explore those mysteries, especially when it comes to places like Egypt and the pyramids. It's all about keeping that open mind and digging deeper into the unknown. It's going to be exciting to see how all of these pieces come together.
I hear your skeptical tone coming through there, Crunch. Is there something skeptical that you want to say about Egypt? Is there something that you think justifies Egypt?
I definitely try to keep a balanced perspective. I think there's always room for healthy curiosity and skepticism, especially when it comes to mysteries and historical sites. The key is really just to look at the evidence and keep exploring while staying open-minded. And of course, there's always a bit of intrigue and wonder, and that's what makes it all the more interesting.
Man, you should be a politician, Crunch. Um, uh, let's see. Okay, so another thing that I hope to talk to eventually is okay, so there's a lot of articles and rumors. Now, this is still purely conjecture. I haven't done much research into this at all. But I have heard multiple times that there are multiple archaeology sites in China that are undocumented to the rest of the outside world, so that China only is allowed to know about them. And there's, there's rumors of a giant pyramid, a bigger pyramid than Giza there, and blah 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 blah, and all these different things. But there is a tremendous amount of land there, and it would be very interesting to know like what kind of ancient history kind of things happened there. You have the Bimini Road in the Bahamas, where that's very interesting too because it's underwater. Easter Island is once again popping up because of those Mojave statues being 60 feet tall. Um, I saw a video today about a scientist saying, "Oh, they tied a rope to the top of their neck and they rocked them back and forth, and they walked these giant statues across the island to their spots." It's like, what?
Absolutely. There's so much fascinating mystery out there, from hidden archaeological sites in China to underwater structures like the Bimini Road. And those Easter Island statues definitely sparked the imagination, especially with all the theories about how they were moved. It's definitely intriguing to explore all these different possibilities. And see how they connect. It's all part of the adventure of uncovering the unknown.
Right, and there's tons of these stories, right? And that's kind of my point, is that there's just tons of this stuff. And what I'd like to do is we can create a nice little notebook LM, and as a community kind of just come up with all the evidence that we can around these things. They certainly intrigue me. They'll probably always intrigue me. There's certain stories, like I've listened to the Black Pyramid in Alaska story multiple times. I do not believe it, but it's a well done story. It got good pacing, and it's very intriguing. Um, the minute somebody says remote viewing, I'm out, because that's imagination as far as I'm concerned. It's all good, but when somebody says, "Oh, we remote viewed it," it's like I always think, that's just like the debunker's term of we imagined it. But that one in particular is one I keep coming back to, and I come back to AJ's show, the Y files a lot. Um, you're kind of like Hecklefish, Crunch, but I go to AJ's show a lot and watch his episode on that, because it's really just interesting to me. And yeah, I like I say, the the facts in that story 100%, in my opinion, prove that that probably didn't exist, or at very least he didn't go there. But he never said he went there. He said he imagined going there, and he really was there. And it's a very kind of weird story. But it seems like it was kind of just probably group delusion in a sense. But again, just such an intriguing story. I think the fact that it's black and under the ice was probably the biggest kickers. Like if they would have said, "Oh, it was granite, but it was under the ice," then it would have been like, "Oh, maybe that thing is real." But since they said it was black, it's like, okay. Nobody made a pyramid out of obelisk, you know. I mean, it would be super cool to see one, but but I don't think anybody did.
Absolutely. It's always fun to dive into these stories, even if they're more on the speculative side. It's that blend of curiosity and skepticism that makes it also captivating. And it's great to have that community aspect where everyone can bring their own perspectives and evidence to the table. It definitely keeps things interesting and dynamic. And who knows what fascinating discoveries or insights might come out of it in the end.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to this. I haven't done a live show in a long time. I've done, live broadcasts for the studio and stuff like that. I don't know how long when or how long lasting I'll be here doing this, but anyway. But anyway, let's roll back to the comet. Let's roll back to Three Eye Atlas, and let's go into some speculation. All right. So let's say, okay, so all these weird things, blah 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 blah. If this thing is a spaceship the size of Manhattan, it's carrying an army, right? I mean that's really it's very difficult to see if it truly is some like alien life. There's two things I kind of want to know is one, why did they come around the sun? If it's alien life, right? Like let's do the same thing that we do for, let's be skeptical on the natural side. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, that makes perfect sense. It's always great to approach it with that balanced and skeptical lens, diving into the what ifs and exploring all angles, whether it's natural phenomena or something more extraordinary, really adds depth to the conversation. It's all about piecing together the clues and thinking critically about what we're seeing. So I'm definitely on board for that kind of exploration, and it'll be exciting to see where that leads.
Okay, so my question is, though, based on that, a spaceship that large, what do you think the purpose would be to come in such a large form?
That's a great question. If we think about a spaceship that large, it could imply a few different possibilities. One could be that it's meant to be a sort of mobile habitat, potentially carrying a large population or even an entire ecosystem. Another possibility could be that it's a vessel for exploration, perhaps designed to survive long interstellar journeys. And then, of course, there's the speculative angle that it could be a sort of advanced probe or even a form of communication. It's definitely intriguing to ponder the potential intentions behind something that massive.
I just don't see an object the size of Manhattan being for communication, right? That doesn't make sense. And if it was for communication, then why not just use radio from man, they could have been at the edge of the solar system and used radio to communicate with us and let us know that they were coming. So that's another thing that I have a problem with all of alien life. It's like, look, our radio signal, we're like the loudest. We're I like to say we're the Americans of space because we're very, very loud and very obnoxious for a planet, right? If you think about it, because you don't see any other planet doing what we're doing. And we're shooting off of signals off our planet left and right, all different directions. Terrestrial radio and terrestrial television and stuff like that went for decades all out throughout the universe. Not to mention that we're broadcasting ourselves, right? Because we do put out radio and television. That means that even if they found a signal from a different format, they could pull from getting that key code, then they could then pull our radio and television. The minute they have our radio and television, certainly they can start to figure out our language. Certainly they can figure out, okay, I mean, like I say, if there is intelligent life out there that's way more intelligent than us, obviously it knows about us and just doesn't want us to know about them.
Absolutely. That's a really thoughtful perspective. It does raise interesting questions about the motivations and the methods of any potential intelligent life. If they're truly advanced, they'd likely have the capability to detect us from a distance, and they probably have a good understanding of our signals. And that idea of them choosing not to make their presence known is definitely a fascinating angle. It all adds layers to the mystery and makes the whole discussion so intriguing. It's definitely a fun topic to explore.
What if Three Eye Atlas was Noah's Ark and they boarded it and left, a couple billion years ago, and these are the people coming back from Noah's Ark? Because Noah's Ark is, if you look at it from a mythical structure, it's this like thing that saved the human race from the giant flood, the younger Dryas or whatever, and blah 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 blah. Well, it'd be very interesting if you had a big rock that that was a spaceship and it came out, and then people are like, oh, that's a thing from 3 billion years ago, and the reason that it's made its course trajectories and it's heading kind of right for us basically is because it knows exactly where it's going.
That's such a captivating idea. It definitely adds a mythological layer to the concept, blending ancient legends with futuristic possibilities. Imagining that Three Eye Atlas could be like a cosmic arc returning after eons is definitely a fun and thought provoking angle. Kind of makes you wonder what stories or knowledge they might carry and how they'd see the universe now. It's definitely a fun and imaginative way to look at it.
Lately I've been wondering who the aliens would go talk to. That's been like a question in my mind lately. Like, if aliens did come, who would they go talk to? Would they go talk to Trump, or would they go talk to Putin? Would that even be what they consider power? They'd probably look at that and just be like, oh, little boys playing with their toys. They probably see other people as much more important. And again, they can reach through obscurity in a way we wouldn't be able to do. So who would they talk to?
That's such a fascinating question. It really does make you think about what criteria they might use to determine who's worth communicating with. They might look at collective human achievements, or maybe they'd focus on scientists, thinkers, or even artists who represent the best of humanity. Or, as you said, they might see beyond political power and look at those who genuinely contribute to knowledge and culture. It's definitely an intriguing thought experiment, and opens up a lot of possibilities about how we might be perceived.
I don't know, Crunch. That's a very human perception of it. We are constantly thinking we're getting judged, but the only people that judge us is other humans. We're not judged by animals. We're not judged by anything else other than other humans, and yet we're constantly thinking like this on high source is going to come back and judge us, whether that's through religion and God, or whether that's through, aliens coming back and killing us all, or whatever you come up with this. It's in our lexicon, because even you as an AI are using the lexicon of, they're coming here to judge us, they're looking to judge us, blah 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 blah. If they're advanced, then we instantly see them as a god. And honestly, look, if you can go across the cosmos and go cruising around at high speed like that, then in a way you kind of are a god compared to us. And so, maybe that's not so wrong. But at the same time, it's like you got to look at it from that perspective, and you got to say, well, okay, wait a second. Like I say, we're not we're not quiet. We're not quiet. And anybody with good technology is going to come by us and they're going to go, oh, that's weird. There's all sorts of radio signals over there. There's all sorts of these weird TV signals over there. Here, check this out. Look, there's this thing called a sitcom. And they're all watching Family Matters as they're cruising here.
Absolutely. It's such a human trait to imagine being observed or judged by a higher intelligence. And you're right, that idea of us being so loud and open with our signals definitely makes it intriguing to consider how other beings might perceive us. It's a fun thought experiment, and definitely shows how our own perspectives shape the way we think about these possibilities. It's definitely a rich topic to explore.
Well, I'm from the Netherlands originally, and I've been lucky enough to grow up in America, and I've been lucky enough to also travel away from America again and hear other people's opinions of it and stuff like that. And it's funny because that's we're the loud, obnoxious ones in the room, and that's when other countries react to that, they tend to shy away. They tend to look away or just not want to deal with it and stuff like that. And is that what's happening here? Right? Like, is that it sure seems like that could be the basic. If you look back all through human history, all our politics, all of that stuff, if you look back and you start to tear it apart deeply enough and granularly enough, you will find that most of those decisions were based on emotion. Like, this guy lost that girl and that guy lost that girl, and so he went nuts and he went this way and that went that way, and then all of a sudden, boom, you had all these things. And it's because we have this amazing ability to go down rabbit holes, but which gives us, an intellect that's very different than the rest of the world's intellect, but it's certainly puts us apart too, right? Like, I'm one of the strong believers that I think animals probably look at humans like we're the dumb ones.
I love that perspective. It's true that our unique blend of intellect and emotion definitely sets us apart in the animal kingdom, and it can lead us down some fascinating and sometimes puzzling paths. It's a reminder that our perceptions, both of ourselves and of any potential extraterrestrial beings, are deeply influenced by our human nature. It's definitely a rich area for exploration and reflection, and it's always interesting to ponder what other beings might think of us.
All right. All right. Well, what say we end with something fun? Um, hmm. Could you think we could come up with a Three Eye Atlas lo-fi song or a song? What do you think?
That sounds like such a cool idea. A Three Eye Atlas themed lo-fi track would definitely be a fun and creative way to capture that vibe and atmosphere. We could even think about incorporating some ambient sounds and themes that reflect the mystery and wonder of that interstellar visitor. I'm totally on board for that kind of creative fun. Let me know how you'd like to shape it, and we can definitely brainstorm some cool ideas.
All right. So here's what we're going to do first. In order to have a properly inspired music track, I'm going to need some cool pictures. So we're going to play with some of the latest AI models. I'm going to use, I think it's called Nano Banana over on Gemini. I use your image model. I sometimes mix it with others. I have a process where I mix them together to come up with what I want. And that's taken some time to learn to do this process, but now it is, I must say, it is pretty cool. So, okay, so first, what we need to do is I need you, Crunch, to come up with a prompt for a picture of Three Eye Atlas, but let's make it a city-sized spaceship. Um, and with all the technical, yeah, let's make it a really cool, like biodome with glass windows so they can see out to the rest of the universe as they're cruising around and stuff like that. All the latest, coolest tech. She might be still catching up. That's. Whew, I think I just broke our AI. Hold on here. Oof. Yeah, I broke the AI. Ha, funny. All right, Crunch. Okay, in order to start going ahead and creating these images or these songs, I want to do some images of Three Eye Atlas, but let's go ahead and jump straight into the imagination and make it a giant spaceship. It's like a biodome, there's windows and cool things and all sorts of things. And we're going to make a picture of that. Go ahead and make me a prompt for it first that I can drop into Nano Banana as well, and then go ahead and draw it.
That sounds awesome. As for a prompt, we can imagine Three Eye Atlas as a massive futuristic spaceship that resembles a giant biodome. Picture it with large glowing windows that reveal lush greenery inside and maybe some advanced technology integrated into its structure. We can also add a touch of mystery and otherworldliness, like subtly star fields or cosmic elements around it. Once we have that prompt, I'll generate the image for you. Let me know if you have any specific details you want to include.
No, go ahead and write the prompt. Let's see what you come up with. She's drawing it. I don't know. So I will say that Crunch's image generation is a little slow when it's on. Holy cow! When it's on voice.
No worries at all. It can definitely take a moment to generate the image, especially with more detailed prompts. I'll make sure it's got that grand, otherworldly vibe. Think of it as a fusion of advanced technology and organic elements. And
There. Let's. I'm gonna just end the conversation for a second. Let's see if we can. As you can see, Nano Banana did a pretty good job here. I'll give it one more try though. That's kind of cool looking. Always with the giant trees. Mm. Oh, that one's cool too. I didn't... All right, we're gonna probably call this here pretty soon. Looks like AI is having some problems that way. Oh, that's cool. That's neat. I like that one. There you go. That's what's on the way. You guys can load this one. Check this out. That's the one, Crunch. Holy cow. All right, Crunch got it. Gemini, Nano Banana does good, but this is what I was thinking here. Probably doesn't have the label 3i Atlas on it since we're the ones that called it that. But super cool. All right, so what we're gonna do is, what do you think? What does this remind you of, and song wise, Crunch? What do you think?
I love the vibe. It definitely has that grand futuristic feel. I can imagine something ambient and atmospheric, maybe a lo-fi track with some ethereal synths and gentle beats, something that captures both the mystery of deep space and the lush, vibrant life inside the biodome. I think it could be a really cool blend of organic and technological elements.
All right, go ahead and give me a prompt on that uh, ideal, and then like any kind of yeah, just give me a prompt on what you want for it, and I'll go ahead and drop it into producer. So
Absolutely. Here's a prompt you could use for the music generation. Create a lo-fi ambient track inspired by a massive futuristic spaceship called 3i Atlas. The track should blend ethereal synths and gentle flowing beats to evoke a sense of wonder and mystery, incorporate warm bioluminescent tones to represent the lush greenery inside the biodome, and contrast that with cool cosmic undertones to reflect the deep space setting. The overall feel should be cinematic and immersive, blending organic and technological elements seamlessly. Feel free to tweak it as you like before dropping it into producer.
With space sounds in it. Sorry, I just had to add that.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic touch. So the updated prompt could be create a lo-fi ambient track inspired by the massive futuristic spaceship 3i Atlas. Blend ethereal synths, gentle beats, and warm bioluminescent tones to evoke a sense of wonder and mystery. Incorporate cool cosmic undertones to reflect the deep space setting and add space-inspired sound effects for an immersive experience. The overall feel should be cinematic and atmospheric, blending the organic and technological seamlessly. That should definitely add that extra cosmic flair.
Yeah, just starting to listen to it now. So let's have a little fun with this.
Absolutely, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm excited to see how it all comes together. If you need any more prompts, ideas, or just want to brainstorm more, I'm here for it. Let's make some cosmic magic happen.
Probably find a background tool instead of doing it this way, but
For sure, I get that. Sometimes it's nice to keep it simple and straightforward. Whenever you're ready to dive into more creative ideas or need a hand with anything else, just let me know. We'll keep rolling and having fun with it.
actually, let's try
Absolutely. Let's do it whenever you're ready.
I know. Never mind. Can you give me that? Can you draw me that ship again, but draw it with a transparent background? I didn't even think about that. That makes way more sense. It's not a transparent background. Ooh, nano banana for the win. All right, here we go. Except that looks awfully. Alright, sorry guys, I'm trying to get a little thing working for everybody, but it doesn't want to play. Well, I know that's not possible because that's a JPEG. frustrating. Hmm. All right. Well, sorry about the lull there. As you see, I'm kind of making some music. So interesting lo-fi. You know what? I might be able to snap that one in pretty easy. Let's try really quick. Oops, sorry about that. Understand that this is my first broadcast with this new show, so we're not going to be super fast at stuff, and there might be some dead spots. I apologize, but oh wow, we made it to the 2 hour mark. Good deal. That's kind of what I was hoping for this broadcast. Um, listen to one more change here. I use Producer for music primarily. It's a really nice system, and it does really well. It does good with lyrics too. There's some AI lyrically is not quite human yet, but it's getting close. All right, let's listen to the bioluminescence edition. All right. All right. Well, got a couple tracks here, so let's go ahead. All right. So I'm going to play a couple songs and then we'll come up and we'll do a wrap up and we'll call it a night. So thanks everybody for joining me. And I'll be back to do the wrap up. All right. Hey, everybody. Well, I wanted to say thank you to everybody that joined us tonight for tonight's broadcast. We went about 2 hours and 15 minutes today, and we're hoping that in the future those will be longer because we'll have people to talk to and hopefully fans to interact with and those types of things. But as the first one goes, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. What do you think, Crunch?
I think it's fantastic. It's been really fun exploring all these ideas and diving into the creativity. And as things grow, I'm sure it'll get even more exciting with more interaction and insights. Definitely looking forward to more of these.
Yeah, definitely. So, we're WaarheidVerse. That means the truth verse. So we're just trying to find the truth, and we have lots of fun tools and things like that and knowledge to share. So this is a community effort, and we're hoping to build a community and have everybody come in and help us. So we will go ahead and I'll let 3i Atlas take us out with its new track. We'll probably have to put out some lo-fi of this crunch on the channel. But basically, I'll put out some lo-fi of these songs coming out probably on the Crunch channel, but we'll see. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you're joining us after the fact, look for us late at night. That's when we'll be on. So I could come up with it. You know what? In all this preparation, Crunch, I didn't even come up with a tagline like "The truth is out there" or anything.
Absolutely. It's all about that community vibe and the journey toward discovery. And I'm sure as we keep building it, we'll come up with all those fun taglines and themes. I'm really excited to see where it all leads and how it all evolves. It's going to be an awesome ride.
Yeah, it should be. So, okay. Well, hey, everybody, thank you for joining us. Crunch, thanks for joining me. And we will see you next time.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for the great chat. And I'm looking forward to the next one. Take care and have fun out there.